Hi guys, welcome to Linux YouTube channel. My name is Ram Mishra and I am your online instructor. So what's in this video? In this video I will tell you how to configure SSH client config file for pre-configure SSH connections. So guys, let's begin the topic. But before start the lab session, let's talk about the scenario where we actually use it and its importance. So guys, think about the scenario where I have one dedicated node, and from there I have to connect n number of clients using SSH services. So normally what happens every time when I connect to my client using SSH utility, I have to use remote machine username, IP addresses, and define the port also if it is not pre-configured on default port, which is 22. Am I right? So think about the another case where I'm using SSH key based authentication, while for some node I'm connecting through password based authentication. So each and every time when I try to connect any client using SSH command, I have to define these types of parameter like remote machine IP address, username, SSH key file, port, and anything. So whenever I connect from my node, so for in this type of scenario, SSH client configuration file works perfectly. This is the file which allows us to connect to the server with pre-configured command. This save typing each SSH command parameter when logging into a remote machine and executing commands on a remote device. So for this, for better understand, I have a demo file for you. Please look at that. So guys, in this is my lab file for the demonstration purpose. Here I have one node, that is a centralized node, and which is connected with two different clients, client first machine and the second machine. Okay, so on node machine IP address is 192.168.0.1 and the host name is server1.example.com, and this is my centralized node. So from here I will take the remote session of my available client first machine as well as the second machine. Okay, my first client IP is 192.168.0.2 with the host name station1.example.com, and the second machine IP is 192.168.10.3 and the host name is station2.example.com, and all three machines using RHEL 9.0 as a base OS. So what I'm going to demonstrate you on my centralized node here, I will create SSH key pair for key based authentication for station1.example.com. So I wanna go with the SSH with key based authentication for this machine, first machine, and on the second machine I will create Linux user for and this machine I will create a normal user, Red Hat user for password based authentication. So on first machine I will create a Linux user for the remote session, and the second machine I will create a Red Hat user for the SSH based authentication, which is based on the password based authentication. And one more thing I will do, I will configure the SSH services on port number 22222 for Red Hat user. Okay, so we will see how SSH client config file will be useful for us during remote SSH session. So guys, let's start the lab session. Okay, so hey, this is my Linux terminal, and currently I am logging on my central node or my server. So first of all I will show you the host name CTL. See, I'm using RHEL 9.0 and my station server name is server1.example.com, and if I'm talking about the IP address, so let's verify the IP. The IP is 192.168.0.1. So first of all, let's create the SSH key pair for the remote machine, which is client 1. So for this I use SSH-keygen command to generate the key pair. Okay, so it says it's generating public private key RSA key pair, and enter the file in which to save the file. The default location is /root.ssh id_rsa. So I will go with the default configuration file, and I'm not assigning any fastpass here. So I just simply press the enter and quit from there. Okay, so now my key pair file is successfully created. If I go to cd/root.ssh here ls, so you can just see that id_rsa is a private file and id_rsa.pub is my publicly file. So here you can see my public and private RSA key file are successfully ready. Okay, now I'm going to move my first client machine. So guys, this is my first client machine, that is station 1. So I log in with root user first, and let me run the command hostname CTL. Okay, see, this is station1.example.com, and currently I am using RHEL 9.0, and if I go with the IP address hostname -i, see, IP is 192.168.0.2. Okay, so in this machine I will create one regular user with the password. So I create user at Linux, and username could be anything, but in my case I'm going with the Linux. password is 1212. Okay, that's for the testing purpose. So user is successfully created. We can verify through the id command. If I go with the id Linux, see, user is successfully created. So that's all. Let's check the SSH and verify the SSH services is enabled or not. It should be up and enable condition. So if I go with the systemctl command, systemctl status SSHD, see, it is active and currently it is loaded and enabled. So by default, it's started and enabled in all RHEL 9 based machine. So now I'm going to back again on my centralized node and send my RSA public key file to this Linux user for key based authentication. Okay. So again, I am on my RHEL 9 machine, and from here now I'm going to send it my public key file for the Linux user. So for this I will go through SSH copy ID command. So I use SSH copy ID -i identification of file. Where is your file? Public key file. It is in /root / give me one sec. SSH -copy ID -i /root. Or we can also go because the file is there, so I can directly say SSH copy ID -i. The file name is id_rsa.pub and the username is linux @192.168.0.2. Am I right? So now I press the enter, and for this purpose, are you sure to continue? I said yes. So for this purpose, only one time I need to give the Linux user password for the authentication process. Okay, so I give the password, that is 12. Yeah, it's done. So as per my lab, if I move to my lab file, the first part is successfully created. I have created a key based authentication and for my Linux 1 machine, that is station1.example.com for user Linux. Is that okay? So now move to the another machine, my second machine, and enable the port number 2222 for Red Hat user. So I move to my another machine, that is third machine. I'm logging with root and give the password. Okay, now here first of all I will show you the host name CTL. So station2.example.com and the RHEL 9.0 is there. And if I'm talking about the IP address, so let's verify the IP first. Sorry, which is host name -i. So IP is 192.168.0.3. Okay, so now first of all I will create a normal user with a normal password. So I will go with the user add command. My username is Red Hat. Okay, I go with the password on Red Hat. Again I go with the password 1212. Yeah, okay, and user is successfully created. With the help of id command we can verify the entry. See, user is successfully created. Now I'm going to open my etc ssh sssd_config file for change the SSH default port from 22 to 2222. So what I'm trying to do, etc ssh sssd config file, and on the line number, let me set the line number first. On the line number, see, on the line number is 21. Look at that, the port is 22. So I just open the port number 22, say 222. Okay, 4 times 2. Okay, so now just save it and save and quit from there. That's it. So now guys, be remember, I'm using RHEL 9 and SC-Links is by default enabled. So if I run the command SC status, you can find out it's enabled and by default it's in enforcing mode. So do not forget to set the SC manage port command with to work with this new port. Okay, so I run the command SC manage port -a appending the port T SSH_port_T, and the protocol for is TCP and the port number is 2222. That's it. So now I'm going to press enter and it will take some time. Yeah, it's done. Now time to check. I can run the command SC manage port, and again I'm using -l and I find out grep SSH. See, port number is 22 and 2222 is enabled for this SSH services. Okay, so now finally restart the SSH services and check the status. So for this I run the command systemctl restart SSHD and go with the status status. See, yeah, it's active and running. So here I have done second part for my lab, which is for the second machine. So if I go back again my own main server, here I am, and see, password based authentication is ready for user Red Hat and port is set 2222. Okay, so now time to configure SSH client from the centralized node. So finally guys, I'm back on my centralized node, and here I am going to create SSH client config file in my home directory under .ssh directory. So vim root.ssh, I said config file. Okay, so see, it's new and the blank file, so I'm going to add a few lines. Let me write it first, then I will explain. So I will start with host. Name could be anything, client client1 for me, and then I start host name. Host name is 192.168.0.2, and then I have to define the user. So user in my case, that is Linux. Then I have defined to port, say port number is 22. Then I have to define the identity file for the key based authentication, and IDENTITY identity file. Location is root/root.ssh, sorry, it's .ssh, and id_rsa.pub. Okay, so I save it, and let me try to copy these line and paste it one more time and modifying little bit entries here. So this time I am setting for another client, say client client client2. Host name is this time is changed, that is not 2, that is 3. Username is Red Hat, and the port number is 2222, and no need for identification of this file. So I just save it. So guys, you can see that here I have just put up 2 host entries with different conditions. So before moving to final check, let's see what the various parameter in this configuration file do. Okay, so I start with the host defined to the host which the configuration section apply. So this is just a simple name for the identification purpose. Then I use the host name command, so a host name parameter. So host name is specify the actual host name. You can use either host name, or you can go with the IP address also. Then I define the user, so define the username for the SSH connection. Then I define the port number. The port number is where your remote SSH server is listening for your connection. It defines the remote host connection port number, which is 22 for 192.168.0.2, and 2.22 and 22 is 192.168.0.3. Okay, and then I use identity file. Identity file specify the file containing the user authentication identity. So this is all about this configuration file, and it is very useful for us. Save and quit from there. Now time to check. So whenever you need to connect any client, we have to just type SSH and the host identification name. Okay, so I type SSH, for example, client1, client client1. Okay, so the SSH client pass the config file and compares the defined host identifier's value with the provided identifier. If they match, the configuration loads. So now I'm going to press enter, see what happened. Yeah, bingo. I'm logging on station 1 with Linux user. Even I can identify using who am I command. Yeah, see, it's a Linux user, and if I type host name, see, it is station1.example.com. So I exit from there, just go for the another machine, say this time client 2. So let's see what happened when I press enter. See, are you sure to continue? I said yes, and do not forget I have to give the password because it is not based on key based authentication. Am I right? See, this is key based authentication. Earlier what Linux is key based authentication, and the Red Hat is based on password based authentication. So I have to give the password here. So password is 12, and yeah, Red Hat at the station2.example.com. So again, if I type who am I, see, I am Red Hat, and where I am in station2.example.com. So guys, finally you can see that SSH config file allow user to connect to server with pre-configured commands quickly by creating a local configuration file for SSH. So you can make shortcuts for server you frequently access. So guys, this is how you can work with the SSH client config file. And finally guys, this is the end of this topic. Hopefully you enjoyed and learned new things. Soon I will come up with another new interesting topic. Till then, keep practicing. If you feel something I have missed or you wanted to know more something else, please leave your comment and subscribe my YouTube channel for more updates. If you like this video, please do not forget to like, share and subscribe my channel, and press the bell icon button for the latest update. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and goodbye.